Hey Eagles fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome into the Eagles Report, and today, the Eagles are going to be all in on Byron Jones, and should we trade for a superstar pass rusher? That and more coming up next. Before we start, though, thumbs up if you guys like the idea of going after Byron Jones and getting a star at cornerback, and also, subscribe down below. We're approaching 6,000 subs here on the fastest growing Eagles channel on YouTube. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, so the latest news, the Eagles are going to be all in on Byron Jones. Yes, stop me if you are surprised. I am not. This is what we expected the Eagles to do. But now we have an official NFL reporter in Adam Caplain who has officially confirmed the Eagles will be the first to the table and trying to offer a brand new massive deal to the 27-year-old Byron Jones, free agent corner out of Dallas. It's going to be probably $17+ million per year. We're going to be shelling out a lot of money for Byron Jones, but many people consider him to be one of the best, if not the best, lockdown cornerback in the National Football League right now. So here's what Caplain said on the latest episode of his podcast, Inside the Bird, saying, quote, "They are, the Eagles, going to be the first team up when they're allowed to talk to agents. The term is they'll be all in, whatever you want to call that." So at least the Eagles are going to be at the table. Now, this does not mean that Byron Jones is going to sign with Philadelphia. Byron Jones was a Dallas Cowboy. He might hate the Eagles, but at the same time, he also might like long-term deals, and if Philadelphia gives him the best deal, I'd be very surprised if he would not take it. He's 27 years old. Spent the past 5 seasons in Dallas after being the 27th overall pick of the Cowboys out of Connecticut. And if you look at the Eagles' history of cornerbacks, you might be a little bit scared to go ahead and get Byron Jones, but I want to take this video, or part of this video, to go ahead and calm those fears, because I know what you're thinking right now, right? Thomas, when was the last time the Eagles spent big in free agency on a cornerback and actually had it work out? Well, the past two instances, Byron Jones in 2015 and Nnamdi Asomugha in 2011, both were massive busts. Although, we cannot use those two failures at corner in free agency to scare us away from a star like Byron Jones. Let's go ahead and start with Nnamdi Asomugha's 5-year, $60 million deal in 2011. This guy was a Pro Bowler 2 of the past 3 years. Whenever we signed him, he was considered widely one of the 2 to 3 best cornerbacks in the National Football League up there in Oakland. Nobody threw his way. That was the big deal. Like, no one threw to Nnamdi Asomugha's side because he was just that good. The problem is that once you started testing Nnamdi Asomugha and throwing to Nnamdi Asomugha's side in Philadelphia, he actually wasn't as good as people projected. But it was not as if the Eagles took a random chance on Nnamdi Asomugha. He was a proven cornerback who everybody thought was the best cornerback in that 2011 free agent class. Just ended up not working out. That was an anomaly. Would not worry in terms of Byron Jones versus Nnamdi Asomugha. The other one, of course, is Byron Maxwell. Gave him a 6-year, $63 million deal. Good Lord, it's a lot of money. In 2015, this is the one that makes sense why it fizzled out, because Maxwell was always the opposite cornerback to Richard Sherman in the Legion of Boom, and obviously he had the 2 big safeties, Chancellor and Earl Thomas, behind him. But when you gave Byron Maxwell a deal, it was basically due to one good year in Seattle. Like, he had one decent year, hit free agency, which is what you want to do if you're a player. Your final year and your final deal, your contract needs to be your best year. Maxwell had that, and Philadelphia was desperate for corner help. I mean, good Lord, in 2014, it was one of the worst cornerbacks classes in the NFL. They were awful. They were desperate to get better. They had a lot of cap space, and they threw money at Byron Maxwell, basically throwing him against the wall and hoping that hoping that he would stick. And he did. Like, we all know this. Byron Maxwell was awful, and we gave them so much money, and then we traded him away. It was just a total mess. This is not Byron Maxwell. Byron Jones, good Lord, Byron Jones is not Byron Maxwell, right? I mean, Jones is not Maxwell at all, because he is a proven cornerback. He's been a Pro Bowler. He's been as good as it gets and proven to be a star in the National Football League. So all you Eagle fans out there, if you're worried about Byron Jones, going ahead and signing him and having the repeated history, I would not expect that to happen right now. Now, again, this is not guaranteed. The Eagles are going to go ahead and get a guy like Byron Jones, but at the same time, they will be the first at the table. They will be offering the money, and they have the cap space to do so, as they have over $50 million in free space. And I can only imagine, if you were to get a guy like Byron Jones and maybe re-sign Jalen Mills, that secondary looks a lot better than what it was at the very beginning of the year, or the very beginning of last year, and the Eagles might go from having one of the worst secondaries to one of the best secondaries in the National Football League. What do you guys think? Should we go ahead and give an ex-Dallas Cowboy, a free agent cornerback in Byron Jones, $17+ million per year? Let me know in the comment section down below. Answer the pinned comment. I want to hear from you guys here. It's what we do on the Eagles Report. We interact in the Eagles community. The other Eagle news, is regarding Yannick Ngakoue, the free agent, not free agent, the soon-to-be franchise-tagged Jacksonville Jaguars star defensive end who does not want to be a star defensive end for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He is seeking a trade and wants a long-term deal somewhere else. So, it is reported that he is going to be wanting $19+ million per year over the next 4 or 5 years, whoever trades for him, because he's only 24 years old and has been one of the better pass rushers in the league during his young career. 2017 was a Pro Bowl season. Pro Bowl season. He had 12 sacks, 6 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery for a touchdown. In all 4 seasons he's been in the NFL, he has never had fewer than 8 sacks. Ever in his career. I mean, this is one of the best young pass rushers in the National Football League who does not like the trajectory of the Jacksonville Jaguars and wants to go somewhere else. Now, the Eagle D-line looks good on paper, right? Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Malik Jackson comes back from injury, Derek Barnett, they traded for Janald Avery. Like, it looks good on paper, but not a lot of depth there, and Brandon Graham is aging, and Derek Barnett is still unproven. Like, he was really good his rookie year, and has been kind of up and down ever since. Was not fantastic last year, but wasn't necessarily bad. So you could make the argument pass rusher is still a massive need for our Philadelphia Eagles, despite having Cox and what we expect to be a very, very good Malik Jackson whenever he's healthy for Philadelphia in 2020. The problem is what you would have to give up to go ahead and get him. You'd probably have to give up a first-round draft pick. Like, you'd most likely give up number 21 overall, which means you're going to lose a chance at getting a wide receiver. So let's just say the 2 people we've talked about today on the Eagles Report happened. Like, let's say you sign Byron Jones in free agency and you trade for Yannick Ngakoue out of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, that would leave you with still a hole at wide receiver, and then I guess you would try and fill it with the 2nd-round pick that you have or the 3rd-round pick that you'd have, like a Jalen Reagor or a Denzel Mims, and then maybe a free agent wide receiver. Like, it makes it a little more difficult. We all have in our mind the Eagles are going to go ahead and get the linebacker Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson, or they're going to get Ruggs, Judy, or CeeDee Lamb in the 1st round. This would mean you probably lose your 1st-round draft pick, and then you were unable to go ahead and get a star wide receiver in the draft. Now, is Ngakoue worth it? I mean, you can make the argument a superstar pass rusher is as good as it gets in terms of, besides quarterbacks, the most important position in the National Football League. Look at San Francisco. They were incredibly dominant last year, mainly due to the fact they could run the football and get after the quarterback with the Eric Armstead and DeForest Buckner and Dee Ford and Nick Bosa. I mean, they were really, really good. So I would not be surprised if the Eagles at least make a phone call for Yannick Ngakoue. I'd make a phone call and see if you could get him for less than a 1st, like a 2nd, one of your 2/3, maybe a 5th-round draft pick. I would do that deal in a heartbeat. I just think because he's 24 years old that he might be worth at least a 1st-round draft pick. Although, devil's advocate to get to that is he doesn't want to stay in Jacksonville, so he's forcing a trade. So the Jaguars might have to take less just to go ahead and move him. I think other teams know that as well. What do you guys think? Out of these 2, who would you rather have? Byron Jones or Yannick Ngakoue? Which would be more important on our Philadelphia Eagles? I like Jones because you just give him money. You don't give up draft picks to go ahead and get him. I think if you had a free agency period where you came away with Robbie Anderson, you came away with Byron Jones, and then you re-sign either Darby or Mills to go ahead and strengthen that secondary, maybe get a linebacker, and then drafted a superstar wide receiver in the draft, the Eagles could have one of the best offseasons we've seen from any team in the National Football League. 10 picks this year. $50 million in cap space. This is enough money, enough ammo, enough firepower to go out and make some massive deals for our Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, before we move on, have you subscribed to the Eagles Report yet? I don't think you have, because a lot of people watch these videos who are not subscribed, and you're missing out on the best Eagles content here on YouTube. We are always top of the search bar. We're always top of the trends right now in Philadelphia. Go ahead and click the red subscribe button down below. Also, for those of you who are subscribed, don't just zone out right now. Click the notification bell down below as well. That way you're notified whenever a new Eagles report is dropped, and we drop Eagle reports here on almost every day. Now, it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday is the schedule, but whenever news happens, we drop it more often than not, so go ahead and sign up and subscribe down below. I would greatly appreciate it because we're approaching 6,000 subs, which is crazy in terms of the fastest growing Eagles channel here on YouTube. So, finally, wrap it all up. The Eagles are going to be all in on Byron Jones. They're going to be the first at the table, offering at least $17 million per year. I like the move. Don't worry about Byron Maxwell. Don't worry about Nnamdi Asomugha. Those are different players than Byron Jones. I think the Eagles are going to make the right decision. I think if they're going to try to sign him. And if not, look for someone like Chris Harris Jr. or someone else in free agency to go ahead and fill the Byron Jones void. To me, it's not up to Philadelphia right now. It's up to Byron Jones if he wants to move and also play for his division rival, the Eagles. And finally here, Yannick Ngakoue wants a trade. He wants a long-term deal. You got to give up draft picks and then sign him. He's worth it. We know that. Only missed like one game the past 4 years. He's been crazy healthy, crazy productive, 8+ sacks every single season. I would like the deal. I just want to know how expensive it is going to be because I think the Eagles need to, especially in the first round, get a wide receiver who can be a superstar talent for Carson Wentz. All the time we have for today. For the Eagles Report, I'm Thomas Mott, signing off. Enjoy the rest of your day. Did you like that video? Thanks for watching, but why don't you click this video right here because we did it just a couple of days ago, and guess what? It's about the Eagles too. Like that video? Why don't you subscribe right down here? That way you're notified whenever we release more videos here on the Eagles Report. It's the fastest growing Eagles channel here on YouTube. Video, subscribe, click them right now. Go ahead, click them.